So the front page of ESPN.com today is a piece that's been compiled by multiple contributors across ESPN's NFL team. And what they did was they took the offseason, boiled it down, looked at every roster, top to bottom, the entire National Football League. They ranked them from 1 to 32. Started with the Ravens, number 1. Then you get to the Eagles, number 2. No surprise there. You get to the Lions, number 3. You get the point. They take every team's biggest strength, biggest weakness, their X factor, and then the non-starter on the roster you may need to know. And they went through the depth chart of every team. If you're looking to kind of dive into football, it's a pretty good comprehensive look at everybody in a digestible form. But as you well know, we're looking for local angles here. I'm not telling you about the non-starter to know for the Lions. It's Dan Skipper, their 5th offensive lineman. But we want to talk about the Saints, right? So I'm thinking, well, it's probably not going to be great, but let's see where it is. And I start to scroll, and I keep scrolling, and you get to 27 with the Giants, and you get to 28 with the Titans. Well, they're not very good. The Jets are 29. I know that's not a great team. And then I saw the Panthers at 30, and I went, oh, this is not great. So what's 31? The Browns. And that means 32 is the Saints. 33 does not exist. ESPN ranks the Saints as the worst roster in the National Football League. They give the biggest strength to the Saints at edge rusher, where Granderson, Chase Young, Cam Jordan roam. They say the biggest weakness in the Saints organization on the roster right now is at quarterback. Certainly makes sense. Tyler Shough is a second-round pick that's never played. Their X factor for 2025 is Kelvin and Taliese Fuaga, and the non-starter to know is Kendre Miller. Maybe he can assume some role from Alvin Kamara. And that's the look at the Saints. And instead of sitting here in July and going, look, the Saints are the worst team in the league. What a disaster this entire fall is going to be. Mickey, what a doofus. That's not really what anybody wants to hear, right? I don't have really any interest in doing that. So I decided, instead of bemoaning the roster and talking about how they're dead last, instead of doing that, I just wanted to look at, okay, well, what if they aren't the worst? What will have happened if instead of 32nd, the Saints are closer to 20th? What would have happened between August and the first week of January to make sure that they were closer to the middle of the pack than the bottom of the heap? And my thought is 3 ways. The first one is very obvious. If Tyler Shough is a great player and he just kind of figures it out really early as an old rookie, well, that is literally what the piece said it's their biggest weakness. I get that. If he's not a weakness, you drag yourself out of there pretty quickly. And that's the hope of every team that takes a quarterback in the first couple of rounds of every draft, that you're the guy that's going to rescue us. We're picking early in draft because we're not very good. Help. And if Tyler Shough comes in and looks poised and commands the huddle and throws the ball accurately and doesn't make really poor decisions, I think that's your quickest way out of the basement. The second piece to this puzzle, and keep in mind, none of the pieces really matter that much if quarterback is a complete mess, but I think everyone is well aware of that. The second piece to the equation that would make the Saints climb out of the gutter more quickly is if the offensive line is not just pretty good, as if it's really good. And that's possible, right? It's possible Taliese Fuaga is a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. I thought he played well at left tackle. You move him to his more natural position, and by the way, one that's not quite as demanding, he could be a Pro Bowler. You took Kelvin Banks in the first 10 picks of the draft. Guys that go in the first 10 picks of the draft make a lot of Pro Bowls, are really good as rookies often. You already know Eric McCoy is a top 4 center in the NFL. And then you got your guards, which you've got Ruiz, who's been in there, and then you've got Penning, who maybe unlocks something at guard. I'm asking, but that's the point. When you've got the roster that's ranked 32nd in the league, you're going to have to prove some people wrong to climb out of that. And maybe the Saints offensive line in this new form is really good. And guess what that does? It makes life a lot easier on Tyler Shough, and you can run the ball. And Kamara can pick up some yards. And there are a couple guys behind him that are going to have to figure some things out, stay on the field. But if Shough's good and the offensive line's good, you feel like Kellen Moore's pretty good, and you've got some guys to get the ball to on the outside. Like, all of a sudden, you're not the worst team in the league. And then my third piece to this puzzle is to kind of pry the Saints out of this deal, is maybe your defensive front takes a massive step forward. The Saints last year up front defensively stunk. They didn't rush the passer well enough. They were a sieve against the run, and they've made some changes, namely Devon Godshaw. But you also went and signed Bullard over the weekend, and then Brazi's a year older, and Granderson's got to play better than he did last year, and Chase Young is still a dynamic player. I can get you to an above-average NFL defensive line if all those things happen. You got to stay healthy. Brazi's got to take a progression specifically against the run, but Godshaw's a new face who's been a very good run stopper his NFL career. Getting older, but been a good run stopper. No one's going to argue Chase Young's talent. And Carl Granderson, he's had some really impressive moments. 2 years ago, he was a great pass rusher. I don't know if he was last year. In fact, I know he wasn't. But 2 years ago, he was. And you got to play Cam Jordan in the role that fits him, which is sparingly, not the massive amount of snaps he used to take when he was a perennial Pro Bowler. And let him teach the young guys, play a limited amount of snaps, and be a little bit productive when he's out there. I'm not even asking for Isaiah Foskey to take a huge jump. I think that ship is more than likely set sail. I won't slam the door on it, but you get it. It's not something I'm going to count on, right? And those are the three things. I think if those three things can happen, the Saints can be closer to 20 than 32. Shough develops, produces. The offensive line, in a reconstructed form, comes to life and becomes a well above average unit. You've invested plenty in that it could be that. And then your defensive front. I mean, the line of scrimmage and the quarterback. How easy is that? But it's something you got to point to. If you were wondering, well, where's the rest of the South? Those are the teams we got to compete with. Those are the teams we got to play. I told you earlier that the Panthers came in at number 30, so you're a couple of ticks behind Carolina. And the rest of the teams, the other two teams, are not too far out in front of you. Atlanta's 26, so you got 26, 30, and 32 in the division. The consensus is, with Baker Mayfield, that Tampa is the best team in the division, but it's still not some sort of massive climb to get all the way to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Excuse me. Tampa does reach the top half of the league, but 12 is where you find Tampa. So you don't have anybody in your division that they consider a top 11 team in the NFL. You're looking at the playoff bubble right there. So it's disappointing to click the button and see the Saints show up at the bottom. How do they fix it? Well, that's what they got to get to work on starting on Wednesday. So we'll talk to Sean Fazan from Fox 8 about all that in 50 minutes from right now. Jordan, you've listened to me chat about the Saints here. They're last. Are you surprised by that?
I'm a little surprised, but I also feel like that's just the Homer blood in me. So I'm like, well, damn, 32? I don't think we that bad. But I mean, this team potentially could be pretty bad. And the way how I feel about it, I would like to be top 20, but that's only if you see signs from Shough that it's workable. But if he's a complete dumpster fire, you need to be losing. I know nobody wants to.
It's not going to be hard to lose.
Yeah, it's not going to be hard. But if he's terrible, I'm okay with. I can say punting on the year, but hey, we need a top 3 pick. We got to get one of these next guys because the quarterback class is loaded. We got to find a way to get one of these guys. But if Shough shows a sign of life, that you can work with this, it shows flashes. I can see the team getting up to maybe 25. Maybe 25. The list is a little – it hurts the soul to watch. It does hurt the soul, but, I just don't see the ceiling being that high for the team, even if things do go right. Like the Indianapolis closed at 25. I think they can be better than the Colts. Anthony Richardson, who knows? I think they can get there, but Tampa Bay at 12. No way in the world will the Saints be a top 12 team.
No, not this year.
No.
Just that's unless Shough is
Jesus Christ.
bordering
Yes.
on the MVP.
Yes.
You're not going to get there. So, hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button. Leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.